So next I'm going to talk about memory. Of course, memory vital for so many aspects of our lives. But again, one of the things about memory is that it's not just one thing in the brain. In fact, we have many different memory systems. And again, that means that with a brain injury, it's possible for just one of those systems to be affected or multiple different systems. So let's think about some of the different types of memory. So one type of memory is what we call working memory. So that's really the ability to hold things in mind just temporarily, hold and to manipulate, to work on things in your mind. So when you bring something to mind and work on it, perhaps you're trying to solve a problem, you're holding it in your working memory. Or if somebody tells you a telephone number, perhaps you're about to write down a telephone number and they tell you their number. That ability to hold in mind the number and to maybe to rehearse it, or to while you write it down, you're saying it over in order to write it down. So that's called working memory. Similarly, if I asked you to imagine how many windows are in your house, so you can bring to mind an image of your house. You can even walk around your house or your flat, and you can picture how many windows there are. So that what you've done is you've brought a memory from your long-term store into this short-term or temporary or working memory in order to work on it. So that's working memory. But we also have the ability to remember longer term things like remembering events or experiences. So what you had for breakfast this morning, or what you did yesterday, what somebody said, when you go shopping, where you left the car, where you put your keys down, the last holiday that you went on. So remembering events and experiences is fundamental to our lives and allows us to recollect back and recall and use that information. And we can think about memory for things that happened just recently, like I said yesterday, but also almost a lifetime, from our early lives. Key experiences or memories stay with us about particular experiences or events or weddings or holidays or birthdays or parties and so on. So remembering events and experiences is one thing. But we also have systems that allow us to learn new things. So learn, it could be procedures. So for example, you've got a new microwave oven and learning how you have to program it in order to make that work, or the new washing machine or a new phone. So learning procedures, also learning things like names. So you have a new neighbour, or you've met somebody new. So learning their name, or learning information. So if we're studying, so you're at work and you're learning new things, or learning a new language, for example. So here we're talking about learning information where we don't necessarily remember the specific time we learnt that information, although we might do, but it's more those things that we learn gradually over time, and we repeat things, and those things become solid learned information over a period of time. And then perhaps one of the most critical uses of our memory is what we call prospective memory. So this is really remembering to do things. So much of our everyday lives require us to remember to do things at some point in the future. So that could be remembering to pay a bill, remembering to post a birthday card, remembering to go to an appointment, the dentist or the doctor. And in terms of the things that are most problematic when they go wrong, prospective memory is probably one of the things that probably goes wrong the most frequently, but is also causes difficulties in our day-to-day lives. If we don't pay the bill, don't pay the rent or the on time, that can be a problem. If we forget appointments or forget to take medication and so on. So prospective memory is a really critical part of our everyday lives. So, as I said, in brain injury, it's possible for any or all of these to be affected to varying degrees. Occasionally, following a brain injury, it's rare, but it does happen. That level of memory impairment could be very severe, but the only impairment. So somebody who has what we call an amnesic syndrome, where the person has a very severe difficulty with memory, but all their other cognitive functions are intact. Of course, that causes huge difficulties, because if it's hard to remember what you did just recently, or even just half an hour ago, that's a major challenge for everyday life. But as I said, probably the most frequent difficulty in terms of memory after a brain injury is remembering to do things, a prospective memory. Because in fact, if you think about it, prospective memory involves not just memory for what you have to do, but it also requires our ability to plan ahead, and to concentrate, and to notice when it's time to do something. So let's say if I have to post a birthday card to a friend tomorrow. So with prospective memory, we say, well, I can't do it right now because I'm not near the post box, so I have to do it tomorrow. So let's say I'm going to do it on my way to work. So I have to make the intention to tell myself I'm going to post the birthday card tomorrow. Okay, so I formed that intention, but now I have to remember that intention. I have to remember that I have something to do, which is post a birthday card. I have to remember when I'm going to do it, in this case on the way to work in the morning. So between now and the morning arriving, obviously there's quite a long time. So in that time, it's possible I may have forgotten what it is I want to do. Or it may be that I haven't really forgotten, but it's dropped out of my mind, if you like. So it's there in the back of my memory, but I'm not really remembering it. So when it gets to the morning, it may not come to mind. But it may do that as I'm driving into work, I've got to notice the postbox. So hopefully, if the system is working well, I will notice the postbox, or even thought on my journey on the way in, I think I must remember to post the letter or the birthday card. So when I see the postbox, again, hopefully that triggers my memory of postbox and the connection with the birthday card. So I stop and I post the birthday card. But of course, because there are several stages there and several different cognitive processes following a brain injury, any one of those cognitive processes might be affected. So I may be less good at doing the planning part, where I was thinking through when I was going to post the card. My memory may be impaired, so it's harder to remember what it is that I want to do. Or my attention might be affected, so I don't notice things so well, so I don't spot the postbox and it doesn't trigger me to remember. Or I may forget to do it even when I see the postbox. So with prospective memory, that can be challenging, because it's one of the hardest parts of remembering. So memory, critical to our everyday functions. Various different systems involved, which may make it more difficult to learn new things or to remember experiences that I've had. Or I may find it less easy to hold things in mind. The capacity to hold information in my mind might be reduced, and that makes it more difficult to work things through and to work out what to do, or to solve problems.